It's easy to tell an open-minded person from a closed-minded person because they act very differently. Here are some cues to tell you whether you or others are being closed-minded. 1. Closed-minded people don't want their ideas challenged. They are typically frustrated that they can't get the other person to agree with them instead of curious as to why the other person disagrees. They feel bad about getting something wrong and are more interested in being proven right than in asking questions and learning others' perspectives. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Hope you all had an absolutely amazing weekend. I had a very nice, busy weekend, but we are back. It is a Monday. It is a good day to get started on some really good resolutions for the week to start achieving the goals. And that's why we start the week with, and every day, with some reading. And we are reading Ray Dalio Principles, and we are up to 3.5. which is really exciting. We are really powering through this book. I want to quickly say good morning to Will Jones and Georgina Grogan. Thank you for, I can't really see what it is that you sent me, but thank you for whatever you sent me. And Susan Bennett, thank you for your little thing as well. And hello to somebody Japanese who I could read the name of, but it will take me a little bit of time. Let's get into the reading because that's what we're here for. Here we go, and I'll come back to everybody on Bigo in just a moment. 3.5, recognize the signs of closed-mindedness and open-mindedness that you should watch out for. I think this is going to be a very interesting chapter. I actually have a lot of friends who ask me whether they're open-minded or closed-minded. This might give them the answer. It's easy to tell an open-minded person from a closed-minded person because they act very differently. Here are some cues to tell you whether you or others are being closed-minded. 1. Closed-minded people don't want their ideas challenged. They are typically frustrated that they can't get the other person to agree with them instead of curious as to why the other person disagrees. They feel bad about getting something wrong and are more interested in being proven right than in asking questions and learning others' perspectives. Open-minded people are more curious about why there is disagreement. They're not angry when somebody disagrees. They understand that there's always the possibility that they might be wrong and that it's worth the little bit of time it takes to consider the other person's views in order to be sure they aren't missing something or making a mistake. So yes, you will notice this difference. I love having people tell me that I could be wrong, because imagine if I go to invest and imagine that I have this great idea and I think that I'm going to make a lot of money from this investment. And then nobody challenges me on it. And I go and I make the investment and I lose money. But now imagine that I have this idea for this investment and then I'm about to go and invest and I talk to somebody and they disagree and they tell me to be careful. Now I might not make the investment, or I might have a look at why they say that this could be a bad investment. And then maybe I might watch somebody else invest and see that they have a bad experience. So now I am happy that somebody actually challenged me. So we want to make sure that we are happy to be challenged in order to be able to really get greater results. Now, sometimes somebody will challenge you and they'll talk you out of something. You want to see if you can avoid that, but you want to at least be open to the disagreement and then have a discussion on it. And if you think that the other person isn't correct, then you can still make the investment, or you can still say, oh, maybe I need to be a bit cautious. I'm going to watch somebody else and see if they succeed with that investment. And if they do succeed with that investment, then we are in a good place. Okay, number 2, closed-minded people are more likely to make statements than ask questions. While believability entitles you to make statements in certain circumstances, truly open-minded people, even the most believable people, I know, and I'm going to drink a little bit of water quickly first. While believability entitles you to make statements in certain circumstances, truly open-minded people, even the most believable people I know, always ask a lot of questions. Non-believable people often tell me that their statements are actually implicit questions, though they're phrased as low-confidence statements. While that's sometimes true, in my experience, it's more often not. Open-minded people genuinely believe that they could be wrong. The questions that they ask are genuine. They also assess the relative believability to determine whether their primary role should be as a student, a teacher, or a peer. So this one I find very interesting because I'm not very big on asking questions, but I do it slightly differently. So I love to research and find out what is true and not. So if I have questions, I'll sometimes ask other people. But more often than not, I will have already looked up the information. I will have done my research. I don't like to ask people questions that I might be able to find the answer to myself. So unless I haven't been able to find the answer, or I have a question around the answer that I found and whether they agree with that or not, then I'll ask a question. But generally speaking, if you want to be able to spend time with very, very successful people, then you want to make sure that you value their time. And one way of doing that is by actually doing some of the research yourself first. If you only ask questions and you haven't done any of the research, then they're going to wonder perhaps why you haven't done that. So it is very good if you're able to do some research, ask your questions, and do some research before you actually ask somebody else. That way, they know that you are actually interested and that you have put the time and effort in, and it shows great commitment from your side. So it is definitely a good way of seeing if somebody's open-minded or closed-minded. A lot of people will tell you exactly what they believe and will not ask questions. The most successful people that I know as well ask lots of questions. They've also done their research as well. So most of the people that I know who are very successful, they will only use statements if they've already searched for the topic and if they know about the topic. And if they don't, they'll ask lots of questions because they want to be able to know more about it. Okay, we're up to number 3, but I'm going to quickly say hello to Aware Selena and Sarah Silverman. Thank you for the little envelope you sent. Gelding Borough Council, nice to meet you as well. And thank you for the little gift or little icon thing that you sent. And let's have a look. Rob Twoley, not sure how to pronounce that one. Hello to you. And yes, great to have all of you here. Part 3. Closed-minded people focus much more on being understood than on understanding others. When people disagree, they tend to be quicker to assume that they aren't being understood than to consider whether they're the ones who are not understanding the other person's perspective. Open-minded people always feel compelled to see things through others' eyes. One of my favorite things when I was younger was the expression to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. And when I learned this, I actually discovered something very interesting. I was in the car with my parents once, and my father was stuck behind somebody who was driving, and they didn't know the area very well. So they were in the wrong lane, asked to change lanes, and then they were blocking my dad from being able to go when the traffic light changed. And so my dad was screaming and yelling. He was all upset. And I observed that. Then later, my father was somewhere where he'd never been before. Now, my father was a really good driver, but he was somewhere where he'd never been before, and he was accidentally in the wrong lane. And so he had somebody behind him, and he was blocking the road this time. And my father was being yelled at by the person behind him. And my father was yelling back, "Oh, I'm here for the first time. I've never been here. I don't know which lane I'm supposed to be in. Leave me alone." And I observed that as well. And I noticed the contrast between the two. So from one perspective, my father was the person behind him. And in the other perspective, he was the person in front of him. And so it is really important that you can see things through others' eyes. So when my father was being blocked, it would be good for him to be able to see a little bit beyond where he is. And obviously we get frustrated if we're stuck in traffic and if we're in a rush and we are in a hurry and all of those different kinds of things. But open-minded people, it is really good for you to be able to see things from other people's perspectives. It makes you a lot more zen, and that zen allows you to, it's difficult to explain, but the calmness that you feel. So for example, let's say that you've made an investment and the investment doesn't go very well. Even if you're a calm person, that knowing that it's negative, or knowing that the stock has gone down, or whatever it is, or the property price has gone down compared to where you bought it at, that is going to weigh on your mind. So if you can step into somebody else's shoes rather than getting upset with them, if you can understand their perspective more, you stay calmer. And that calmness that you have allows you to be able to achieve greater things, because you are now no longer in a stressed situation. And when you're in a stressed situation, you tend to make worse decisions. You tend to not do things as well. When you are calm, then you are going to make more rational decisions and things will flow more smoothly for you. So it's very good to be able to look from another person's perspective, and it can create more success in your life by creating that calmness in you. Okay, part 4. Closed-minded people say things like, I could be wrong, but here's my opinion. This is a classic cue I hear all the time. It's often a perfunctory gesture that allows people to hold their own opinion while convincing themselves that they are being open-minded. If your statement starts with, I could be wrong, or I'm not believable, you should probably follow it with a question and not an assertion. Open-minded people know when to make statements and when to ask questions. So I don't see that much wrong with saying I could be wrong, but this is my opinion, because I feel that that's already quite open-minded. So I'm going to disagree slightly with this one. I could be wrong. This is my opinion. I think that's very open-minded to say that you could be wrong. And it'd probably be better, yes, to ask a question together with that. I could be wrong. Here's my opinion. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Do you know the answer? Have you done research on this? That would probably be better. So I think I see where Ray Dalio is coming from. Part 5, closed-minded people block others from speaking. If it seems like somebody isn't leaving space for the other person in a conversation, it's possible they are blocking. To get around blocking, enforce the 2-minute rule I mentioned earlier. Open-minded people are always more interested in listening than in speaking. They encourage others to voice their views. Agree, but sometimes if you tend to be somebody very interesting, even if you are listening, I used to have this a lot. I would be sitting with people and they would ask a question, I would ask a question, and then at some point they would ask a question about travels. I would talk about my travels, just even a little bit, and people would think it was fascinating compared to what they'd done in their lives. And even though I didn't want to, the conversation would be mainly me and them asking lots of questions because they had never experienced those things. In that case, it's completely fine. But when it comes to, let's say, for example, talking to somebody who is an investment expert and you are not, if you are the one doing most of the talking, then of course you're not going to learn very much. And if you are blocking them, then you'll probably put them off and frustrate them, and they will not want to speak to you again. I had this recently where somebody was talking quite a lot. They did know quite a bit, but they dominated the conversation a little bit, which I didn't mind. Somebody else might have. So just something to be careful of. Number 6, closed-minded people have trouble holding 2 thoughts simultaneously in their mind. They allow their own view to crowd out those of others. Open-minded people can take in the thoughts of others without losing their ability to think well. They can hold 2 or more conflicting concepts in their mind and go back and forth between them to assess their relative merits. This is another interesting one. So when you are listening to somebody, are you really listening to them, or are you thinking about what you're going to reply? Now, even better than even I think what Ray Dalio is saying here is that you can just not think about what you're going to reply, because you can think about that later. But you want to be able to listen very, very intently to what the other person is saying. And by listening really intently to what the other person is saying, you are going to be able to, 1, give them the attention that they deserve. Because if you are thinking about your answer, you are not really paying attention to what they are saying. And 2, you're going to be able to come up with a better answer, or you're going to be able to ask better questions if you actually paid really good attention. So absolutely agree. It is very important that you are able to do both, but I think it's even better when you don't concentrate on what you're going to reply, or you find a way. There's memory techniques that I used to teach and learn about, that you can use to actually hold your own thought and then switch that off and say, okay, I know exactly what I need to think about later on, and then just focus in on what the other person is saying. Very, very valuable skill. Number 7, closed-minded people lack a deep sense of humility. Humility typically comes from an experience of crashing, which leads to an enlightened focus on knowing what one doesn't know. Open-minded people approach everything with a deep-seated fear that they may be wrong. So yes, humility, very, very important. We've spoken about it a couple of times because Ray Dalio talks about it a lot. If you have humility, it's going to allow you to be able to see things from other people's point of view, but it's also going to allow you to see that you could be wrong and to be more open to what the other person is saying. And yes, I do know a lot of successful people who are quite afraid of being wrong, and so they will do their best to make sure that they are asking lots of questions. So I think it comes back to the asking lots of questions. Okay, and the last section of this part, once you can sort out open-minded from closed-minded people, you'll find that you want to surround yourself with open-minded ones. Doing so will not only make your decision-making more effective, but you'll also learn a tremendous amount. A few good decision makers working effectively together can significantly outperform a good decision maker working alone. And even the best decision maker can significantly improve his or her decision making with the help of other excellent decision makers. And that brings us to the end of 3.5. Tomorrow we'll continue with 3.6, which is understand how you can become radically open-minded, which is a good follow-on from what we were reading today. If you enjoyed today's reading, and my throat's a little bit dry again, so I'm going to drink a little bit more. Then you can watch the replays on YouTube. We are at the Passive Cash Flow Club, which is where you will find us. And we have lots of great videos. We have the recordings of this book, the previous chapters that I've already read, with my commentary, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Art of Thinking Clearly. So we've got all of those up there. We also have question and answers. So if you have a question about Ray Dalio, about something that you might agree or disagree with in the book, if you have any questions with regards to economics, wealth creation, passive income, any of those kinds of things, I would love to be able to answer it for you. So you can send me a message on Instagram at business_team_6_official with your questions, and I will be happy to make a video and answer those. So make sure when you're at the Passive Cash Flow Club YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe, because if you ask the question, you'll be notified and you'll be able to see when your question has been uploaded. And if you haven't asked a question, it might still be a relevant question. So make sure you subscribe so that you'll be notified when a question has been answered, and you'll be able to maybe get the answer to a question that you didn't even know you had that will help you solve one of your investment challenges. So would love to hear from you. Lots of really great people. We've got James Nicholas on Big O at the moment, Sean Burns, nice to meet you too. And Sarah Silverman sent some more things, and Gedling Borough Council. I'd love to know where that is actually. That's interesting. And Tum just joined. Thank you for the hearts. I thought that was somebody else, but that was you who sent those ones. So it's great to have you all here. I really am very, very pleased to have you here, and I really enjoy reading for you and sharing my commentary. If you'd like to know more about all of those different things, feel free to send your questions. If you'd like to know about the simulators and the masterminds and all the other things that I run to help people become investors, if you're not yet, or if you'd like to become a better investor, then feel free to send me a message on Instagram as well. And we can send you information about the simulator where you'll learn about business, real estate, stocks, whatever kind of investments you're interested in. You will learn about it. You'll learn about strategies. You'll learn about how to create all of those things. And then there are masterminds that you can join in order to be able to have other like-minded people. If you're already an investor, there is always a more efficient and a faster way to do everything. So we can look at how you can improve and speed up the process of your investing. I'm working on some very interesting things at the moment. So if you'd be interested in the simulation, if you'd be interested in learning, if you'd be interested in the mastermind, send me a message on Instagram, business_team_6_official. I would love to get to know more of you. There's a couple of people that join on Bigo very, very regularly who have subscribed with me there. So I would really love a message from you. I would recommend Instagram because Bigo is a little bit spammy. So have an amazing day today. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the reading as much as I did. And I am looking forward to hearing from many of you and seeing you on YouTube perhaps. And remember to make the switch to unlock your rich. If you keep doing everything in the same way, you're going to get the same result. There is a faster and more efficient way to do everything. So if you do them that way, you're going to get even greater results. And not just in wealth, but also in health and relationships. So I'm going to start heading off. We're going to put this up on YouTube. I'm going to head over to Bigo and quickly say hello to everybody over there. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all tomorrow, 8 a.m. Sydney time, for another reading.